Hi, Nick here from Compassionate Self. I just wanted to share with you a little bit about the last weekend that I just had. So I went with Sarah to Germany to visit some friends. And we haven't seen these friends for a long time. And we stayed with one set of friends for a couple of days and then another set of friends for a couple of days. And we both noticed a tension in us around being with these friends. And the tension was related to these hot topics of the moment. So, for example, the topic of Ukraine and the Russian invasion, as well as the topic of vaccinations. And whenever these topics came up, I noticed so much tension in me because there's such a risk when these topics come up of there being disconnection, of there being an argument, because these topics carry so much energy. There's so many strong opinions around them of what we should do or shouldn't do. And there's so much, for example, with vaccines, so much research that has been done into getting vaccines, into getting vaccinated, and the pros and the cons of that. There's so much research being done into why certain vaccines may be dangerous. And there's so much information out there that depending on what you focused on or what has been fed to you by social media, your view will be based on that. And if you happen to have opposing views and a strong attachment to that view, then there's the potential to get into some kind of argument. And I had this realization, although it's something that's not new to me, but there was this realization that I can bring my perspective, my choice, in a way that's more likely to lead to connection. So rather than stating facts and information, when somebody asks me, have I been vaccinated? Rather than saying, so when somebody asks me, have I been vaccinated? And I say no. And then the next question is generally, why not? The response could be, yes, I didn't get vaccinated because, and then I state a number of facts. And if my facts don't line up with the facts that this other person has, or are completely opposite to the facts that they have, or if they believe that the facts that I have are complete bullshit, then it's more likely we're going to get into some kind of discussion. So this other person might try to point out how the apparent facts or ideas or beliefs that I have are completely untrue. And then I may even dig my heels in and go, well, they are true because this is what I've based my decision on. And we get into some kind of argument, some kind of discussion, some kind of push and pull and resistance. So what I try to do it this weekend as much as possible, and what I'm really challenging myself to continue to do, is that when somebody asks me a question on a topic that carries a lot of energy in society, where there's a strong polarity. So it could be on Black Lives Matter, it could be on vaccinations, it could be the Ukraine-Russia story, it could be to do with COVID safe passes that we are now needing to show in Europe to get into different venues. What I really want to do is to share how that is for me. So let's just take this vaccination question, for example. Have you been vaccinated? I say, no, I haven't. Then the person might say, well, why haven't you? And my response, if it is connected to my feelings and needs, is much more likely to be heard with openness by the other person than if I just start to replay information that I've maybe read on social media or on some kind of scientific paper that has been published. It's much less likely that I'll get a strong pushback. So how does that sound? Well, what I might say is I haven't chosen to get vaccinated because I feel afraid. When I imagine having a vaccine put into my body that has not had long-term testing done, because that's not yet been possible. When I imagine that putting that into my body, I feel afraid. I really want to care for my body. I really do the best that I can to live healthy, to eat healthy, to put as little as possible into my body that could potentially cause damage. And I actually have no idea if these vaccines are damaging or not. I've heard some reports that they are damaging. I've heard other reports that they're not damaging. And to be honest, I am quite confused at the moment. I don't know what to believe. And I want to take caution. I want to be careful and care for myself. And because I currently feel afraid, when I imagine someone injecting that into me, that substance into me, because I feel afraid, I'm currently choosing not to. And I'm wondering how that is for you to hear. So that kind of response is much more likely to lead to connection than if I had have just started stating facts. Oh, I read this and I read that and I read this and have you seen that and have you heard about that and this person and I've got a friend who's had this experience and I've got another friend who's had that experience. That type of response is much more likely to lead to a polarity, to this other person saying, well, I've got friends, lots of friends who've been vaccinated with no problems, and I've read this and that, and I've got this information. And then we end up playing ping pong with information. And I've done this, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It feels painful. It feels tense. And generally, I leave the interaction feeling unfulfilled. So this is what I want to do, is I want to be vulnerable. I want to be honest about what's going on for me and why I've made the choice. Not why I've made the choice because of facts, but why I've made the choice because of what lives in me, how it feels for me, and what needs I'm trying to meet. So I'm hoping this is helpful, and I'm hoping that this will encourage you to be open to engaging and talking about these topics in your family and in your friend groups with some trust that if you really share from the heart, from your feelings and needs, that it is more likely to lead to connection and more likely that you'll be heard.